Most people think saving money in the bank is the right thing to do. I mean, it's what we're taught from school. But what if I told you keeping too much cash in the bank is actually one of the biggest financial mistakes you can make? I've been working in accounting and finance for over 15 years and I've seen the same pattern over and over again. People save a lot of money, they let it sit in the bank because it feels smart, but they have no idea they're quietly losing money every single year, even though their balance looks the same. So in this video, I'm sharing exactly why keeping too much cash in the bank is a big mistake and where to put it instead so it actually grows. And it all starts with the biggest money myth that keeps most people stuck, even though they think they're doing everything right. Reason number one, cash is not king. We've been taught our whole lives that cash is king, but it's not. In fact, it's one of the laziest employees you'll ever have. Think about it. You work hard for your money, right? You show up early, you stay late, you take on extra responsibilities, and then you save that money because it's what we've been taught is responsible. But while you're doing all that work, your cash does absolutely nothing. And here's the part no one warned you about, and it's the reason your savings don't stretch like they used to. While your cash is just sitting there, inflation is quietly eating away at it. Let me show you what this looks like. Let's say last year, Aaliyah saved £10,000. With inflation at 2 to 3%, that same £10,000 today only buys £9,600 worth of goods. So she'd need about £10,400 just to buy what £10,000 bought her last year. She didn't touch the money, she didn't spend anything, but somehow she's poorer. Now imagine Natalie invested that same £10,000 in an index fund earning around 8%. While Aaliyah's money lost value, Natalie's grew to £10,800. Same starting point, two completely different outcomes. This is why wealthy people invest and savers stay stuck. And inflation is just the first trap. The next one is even more dangerous because it feels responsible. Reason number two, the oversaving trap. Now let's talk about something I see all the time, especially with women. Oversaving out of fear. You can literally oversave your way to being stuck. And I completely get it. Savings feel safe. They give you a sense of control and security. But that feeling is a trap. And I know you're probably thinking, yeah, but we need to have some money saved for emergencies. And that's true, you absolutely should. But it should be for actual emergencies, things like if you lost your job or unexpected car repairs or medical expenses or even home repairs. So this fund would be to ensure that you could cover those emergencies and still pay your bills and maintain your standard of living. So your emergency fund should only cover your essential living expenses, so things like your rent or mortgage payment, utilities, groceries, transport, any medical expenses. So anything that's fundamental to you surviving each month, times that by 3 to 6 months, that's your emergency fund. Everything above that, that's not safety, that's comfort money. And I say this with love because I've actually made the same mistake myself. I once had over £10,000 saved for my emergency fund. But when I stripped it back and looked at my actual essential living expenses, I realised that I only needed half of that. The rest wasn't for safety. I was just saving it out of fear. After living paycheck to paycheck, being in debt, and even being made redundant, I told myself I'm never going to feel broke again. So I got obsessed with saving, even when I didn't need to. And maybe you're doing this too, but here's what I want you to remember. Your emergency fund is to protect you. And once it's done its job, keeping extra cash is a liability. And even when you stop oversaving, there's another trap that catches almost everyone. Reason number three, too much cash makes overspending easier. This one's sneaky, but when you see a big balance sit in your bank account, you start treating yourself more. You think, well, I've got it, so why not? So you buy that bag that you've had sitting in your basket, or you buy those pair of shoes you've been eyeing, or you book that trip. It's psychological. Money sitting in an easy access account starts to feel like spending money, even though that wasn't your plan. Because the lines between this is for emergencies and this is extra starts to get blurry. That's why someone with £5,000 in the bank spends faster than someone with 500. A big balance gives the illusion of extra and makes impulse spending easier. But here's the problem, that money wasn't meant for spending. It was probably your emergency fund and some extra cash you had that you hadn't allocated yet. This is why systems matter. Your money needs a job as soon as it hits your account before your emotions start to take over. And with the right system, when payday hits, your bills get paid, your savings get funded, your investments are automated, your fund money is even allocated. No thinking, no guilt, no overspending. But overspending still isn't the biggest trap. The next one is. Reason number four, big savings equals false progress. This is one of the biggest mindset traps of them all. A big savings account feels like progress. It makes you feel successful. I used to see people online all the time talking about saving their first £100,000 and I used to think, wow, I want that too. But here's the truth. Big savings don't equal wealth unless you give that money a job. So allocate it to a goal or give it a job. Because cash that just sits there doesn't move you forward. It doesn't multiply. It doesn't create freedom. It just looks good on paper. And I've also made this mistake myself. I saved over £50,000 and for a moment it felt amazing. I mean, it felt really good seeing that balance in my account. But when I looked at my real goal, which was freedom, I realized something painful. My savings made me feel successful, but they weren't helping me get closer to the life that I actually wanted. And that was the moment everything clicked for me. This is how people stay stuck for years, because savings feels like progress, but they don't actually create progress. And once I realized that, I started studying how the wealthy actually manage their money, which we'll get into next. Think like the rich. Here's the difference between the wealthy and everybody else. Wealthy people don't let their money sit still, they put it in places to grow. They invest in assets like property, index funds, businesses, things that grow while they sleep and make them passive income. So when inflation rises, their assets rise too. Meanwhile, the person that keeps all their cash in the bank quietly falls behind every year. That's why two people can earn the same salary, but one gets richer and the other one stays stuck. The wealth gap grows not because rich people save more, but because they focus on growth, and that's what you should be doing too. So now that we understand how the rich think about money, let's get into what you should be doing with your money instead. What to do instead. Here's a 3-step system I actually use myself. Number 1, calculate your emergency fund number. Once you have this number, you want to put it in a separate high interest savings account. You want to make sure that it's an account that's easily accessible in case you need it and doesn't incur fees or penalties. You can check websites like Money Saving Expert or USwitch to get the best deals. Around a 4% interest rate is competitive at the time of recording this video. And remember, your emergency fund is not an investment, it's insurance. Step 2, save for short-term goals. Any goals that you need money for in the next 1 to 5 years, such as a property deposit, move-in, travel, home repairs, anything like that, save it in a fixed high-interest savings account. Just ensure that it's separate from your emergency fund. Step 3, invest the rest. Anything you don't need in the next 1 to 5 years belongs in investments. Think global index funds, ETFs, target date retirement funds. You want to choose one of those funds and ensure you're using a tax advantaged account. So if you're in the UK, that's a stocks and shares ISA. If you're in the US, that's a Roth IRA. This is where your wealth actually gets built. So if you find yourself with extra cash in the bank, ask yourself this one question: what is the job of this money? If the money doesn't have a job, it's unemployed, and unemployed money needs to be invested. Keeping money in the bank feels safe, but it's quietly slowing down your path to wealth. I wish I knew this earlier. So now that you know better, ask yourself this question: how much cash am I holding on to out of fear, and how much of it could be working harder for me? And if you want to know exactly what to do with your money instead, check out my video on how to manage your money like the 1%. It breaks everything down step by step. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more videos on money and building wealth. And remember, stay rich in mindset and the money will follow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.